Good morning, gentlemen. I hope you're having a lovely day. I have been trying to make this same video for ages. I don't know, it hasn't been working out, been problem after problem, issue after issue, but you know what? It is going to happen. So, let's get down to this. The thing I've been trying to say for the past several days is essentially there's a lot of talk, has been for a while, about the Bible, about how parts of it are supposedly irrational or illogical, or it doesn't make sense, it doesn't add up. It can't really comprehend how this or that works. For example, some might say, oh, well, if God's really all-powerful, can he create a rock so heavy he can't lift it? And related stuff like that, which, by the way, I've dealt with in a previous video. Or, get a little more heavy here, could be things like, you know, if God's really omniscient, he knows everything, if he's really omnipotent, he's all-powerful, he can do everything, and if he's really loving, if all of this is true, why do bad things, horrible atrocities happen under his watch, especially to good people? You know, bad stuff happens to bad people. Sure, that makes sense. You know, some might even wonder why humans are allowed to exist at all, given how depraved and evil we're capable of being. But, you know, especially to good people. Why does this stuff happen to good people? Can't really make sense of it. It's confusing. It seems illogical or irrational. It doesn't add up. And these are, you know, reasonable questions. Even the, you know, God created rock so heavy he can't lift it. Even that, you know, reasonable people will ask that question from time to time. Reasonable people will ask any of these questions from time to time. It's normal. It's part of our process of thinking things through, trying to figure out what adds up and what doesn't. I would say, though, if you want to pick out the most irrational thing in the Bible, the thing that just makes no sense at all, the most illogical, doesn't add up thing in the entire Bible, it's not any of that. The biggest confusing, illogical thing in the Bible, I would say, is the extent of God's love. And before you tune me out here, let's talk about that. Talk about why, okay? Let's back up for just a few thousand years to the Old Testament. You know, really this happens throughout the Bible. There's an analogy that's drawn between God and his people. It's the analogy of a husband and a wife, the groom and the bride. There's this, you know, relationship, this marriage analogy that's used. And an extension of that is that when God's people are sinning or idolatrous, you know, they go after other idols, they pursue things that lead them away from God, they put other things above God in their lives. The extension of that analogy, which is drawn sometimes very colorfully and explicitly, is that of adultery, cheating, being a whore, being a slut, however you want to say it. And that's, you know, that's a picture. It's a painting of how this, you know, what our sin is really like to God, what our unfaithfulness really is like. It is unfaithfulness to God. And so, you know, we have this picture that's drawn here to help us understand this. But it's more than that. It's more than that, because, as you know, we've hinted at, God is omniscient. He knows everything. He's always seeing everything that's going on. And so when God's people are unfaithful, it's like he's standing there watching it happen. You imagine being in a relationship, a marriage, and not only is your spouse cheating on you, but they're cheating on you to your face while you're watching. That's a pretty big deal right there. It's not okay, and it's not something that can easily be forgiven and swept under the rug and just, you know, okay, well, let's move on. It's a pretty big deal. So with that in mind, let's go over a brief kind of recap of human history as it relates to God. Okay, so in the beginning, God creates all the stuff and then puts the people in and among the stuff. And these people, it's perfect. There's perfect life alongside God here at this stage. It's awesome. There's no need, there's no reason to do anything other than what God has for us. It's great. And then they go and screw it up, They sin, they're unfaithful to God, and of course we are still reaping the consequences of that to this day. All of humanity and all creation is. So that goes on, okay? And God decides, okay, we're gonna make a way for this to work out. My people are gonna be reconciled to me somehow. And of course, he knows how from the beginning. He gives all the hints and indications of that over the next thousands of years. But, that's what he's gonna do. For some reason, he's gonna do that, okay? And so we go on through the years. God has his people, those who seek him, call upon his name, are willing to follow him and serve him. And these people are still unfaithful. Not just the people who don't even know God. God's own people are still unfaithful again and again and again. We watch Israel be unfaithful, betray him, be just adulterous, essentially, to God again and again and again and again. All the while, God is watching this happen. It goes on and on and on, and God forgives and forgives and forgives, and they sin again and again and again. The husband is reconciled to his wife again and again and again, and she cheats again and again and again right as she's watching, and we're like, what is going on? And he still goes through with this. And he takes his beloved son, only son, with whom he has a perfect relationship. Jesus has done nothing wrong. He's always been in a perfect relationship with God, never betrayed him, never been unfaithful to him, has never been inconsistent with him. It is absolute perfection in the fullest and purest and sense of the word. I mean, to the point that we can't even fathom that degree of perfection. And then they decide, okay, he's going to take the blame for this because our unfaithfulness, obviously, it's so shameful, it's so depraved that it's not workable as it is. Something's got to be done. There has to be some kind of justice dealt out. Okay? For some reason, he decides that this perfect son of his, and the son, of course, agrees with this, is going to bear the weight of our unfaithfulness, take the blame for everything that we've done on himself, so that we can be more perfectly forgiven and reconciled to God, and so that we can be permanently reconciled with him, to him, in eternity. Okay, this is mind-blowing. It makes no sense. Okay, so he does this and he faces these tortures, and including, unless you are of a Catholic persuasion, we believe that Jesus descended into hell and lived separated from God for this to happen. In order for this reconciliation to take place, in order for this forgiveness to be won, in order for this reconciliation to be bought for this unfaithful bride, this repeatedly to God's face unfaithful bride. Okay, and he does this not as some kind of last-ditch effort to make us finally understand, okay, God really does love us so much, so we're going to be committed and we're going to put all this behind us. We're not going to mess up again, and we're just going to be 100% faithful from now on, as a bride should be. No, it doesn't turn out like that, and God knew it wouldn't turn out like that. We still, even after this happens, even after we acknowledge this, even after God's people have received this forgiveness and heard and understood what God has done for us, the lengths He has gone to win our salvation, still failure, still unfaithfulness, right as He's watching, right as He is standing there, seeing us be adulterous, seeing us put other stuff ahead of Him. And He knew that it would happen all along. He knew all along that this was going to be the result. Loved us enough to do it anyway. It blows my mind. It doesn't make sense to me. We can imagine, even if we haven't been in this situation, we can kind of imagine, okay, there's a marriage, it's good, they love each other, there's infidelity, and they, it's tough, but they pull it together and they decide, okay, we're going to make this work. We can move forward from this. We can forgive, put this behind us, and go on from here. But even then, usually there's an understanding that, this isn't going to happen again. We're putting this behind us, not just forgiving it and expecting it to happen again in the future. This is a lot different than what we, from time to time, some of us go through as humans. Okay? This is crazy. It is an irrational love. Of course, we make the argument that all love is irrational. But this is just a totally mind-boggling degree, an expression of absolutely illogical, doesn't add up, supernatural love. Where does this come from? Okay? This is what God has gotten Himself into. And I can't fathom it. So to me, it's not all these other questions that are the most illogical things about the Bible. It's God's love. But you know what? That's the gospel. That is the Bible. And that's my God, and that's what I believe. And so, just one more quick thing here. I see dudes all the freaking time, especially dealing with, guys who are addicted to pornography, stuff like that. I see this fairly often. Guys who feel like they've just done too much. They've failed too much. They've done wrong by God too many times. They can't be reconciled to Him. They're not good enough to be forgiven and to, go after God yet. They need to get their stuff together before they can truly repent. That's what they feel like. That's what they, these thoughts are going through their head, what they believe. They feel like they messed up too bad. They're not good enough to run to God away from their sin. Okay? They're not worthy to come before God in repentance. That's what they believe. And you know what? They're right. Yeah, we're not worthy. God already knows this. He's not surprised. He knew what He was getting Himself into here. He paid for it anyway. He went through this plan of salvation anyway. Loved us that much anyway, knowing that you're not worthy of it. Who is worthy of that? Who on earth could be worthy of that degree of love? We can't. We can't. He bought it anyway. So, hey, dude, if you're there, If you're listening to this and you've been there, you're like, man, you know what? I'm just too messed up right now. I can't come before God. I'm unworthy to come before God. Do it anyway, man. It's already paid for, okay? It's like, somebody pays for your meal or something. Oh, no, I'm not worthy, so I'm not going to eat it. Dude, it's paid for. They've done it. It's done. The worst thing you can do at this point is to shun that, to make that payment for nothing. Why would you do that? They know you don't. He knows you don't deserve it. He knows you're not worthy of it. He did it for you anyway. So why don't you just receive it? All right? Why don't you just stop fighting it? Stop trying to get good enough to earn it, because you're not going to. This is too great a love for anyone to come close to being worthy of. Just take it, man. He wants to give it to you. You already bought it, paid for it. Just take it, okay? Run to him. Worst thing you can do is shun that. Worst thing you can do is reject it. All right? That's it. Y'all have a lovely day. God bless you guys. I'm on Twitter, Gab, Discord, my website, virtueandfaith.com. All that's in the description. But yeah, take it easy but not too easy. I look forward to talking to you guys later.